My name is Usoa Sol, and I'm a secondary English teacher in Barcelona. Some of you may know me from the videos in Advantage, but as you can see now, I'm also teaching from home, just like you. In any case, together with Macmillan, I'll be with you for the next few weeks in these teacher-to-teacher sessions, and we'll be discussing issues that are related to our current situation as teachers. Today is the first session, and it's about teacher well-being, which is basically key. A friend of mine once said that you can't pour from an empty glass. And this means you need to be well yourself. You need to be at ease yourself to be able to take care of others, be it your family, your loved ones, or your students. And so in today's session, I'm going to give you 5 tips that have worked well for me and that hopefully will also be useful for you. Okay, so let's start with tip number 1. I recommend setting up a schedule, not only to organize your day, but also to limit the amount of work that you do every day. As you'll have seen by now, teaching online is very time consuming. So it's extremely important to set up boundaries so you don't get the feeling that you spend all day long in front of the computer. Something that I've done, which has worked well for me since lockdown started, is taking proper lunch breaks. I take 1 hour to have lunch off the computer and try not to do anything computer related. What I usually do is I listen to music, or I read, or just listen to the birds sing, which is actually pretty unusual here. And this 1 hour really helps me to relax, to get some rest, and to take my mind off things for a while. If I were at school, I would get a proper lunch break, right? So I'm trying to do the same thing. Something else related to organizing your day that I wanted to mention is to-do lists. As teachers, we're often very fond of to-do lists because we're very organized and we're actually very ambitious with our time. But right now, given the situation, it's extremely important to be realistic and to really prioritize. So you don't get the feeling that your lists keep getting longer rather than shorter. So if you don't get everything done that you had planned for the day, don't worry. Give yourself a break. You'll do it another day. Probably when you're well rested and feeling a bit more relaxed, you'll do the same work in half the time. Okay, so moving on to tip number 2. I know this is easier said than done, but try to find some time for yourself to do an activity that you like, even if it's only for a short time. Personally, I really like listening to music. So what I do is take short power breaks during the day to enjoy my favorite songs. Since I'm on Spotify, I don't even need to look for the songs because I can go for one of their daily mixes, which includes a variety of songs from my existing playlist and also recommendations based on what I usually listen to. Another music app that I really like is called BandLab. And if you search through their editor's pick section, you'll find loads of already existing playlists belonging to a wide variety of genres. And one that I would really recommend is Coffee House, because it includes good vibe music, which is great to have in the background for when you want to relax or just take a break and just enjoy yourself a little bit. How do I organize my breaks during the day? Well, what I usually do is set up tiny little goals. So for example, I say, okay, when I finish this activity, I'll take a break. This is very simple, but it gives me something to look forward to. It helps me to focus a bit more on what I do, so I feel a bit more productive. And it also helps me to take my mind off things for a little bit. These breaks don't need to be very long, but they help you to organize your day in a more efficient way, and they make you feel a bit more relaxed. Something else that I do during my power breaks is drink some tea. And so this one is on you. I find tea helps me to stay off chocolate and off sweets, and it prevents me from nibbling all day, which is what I would instinctively do if I didn't have my tea. Okay, so next up is tip number 3, which is connected with loneliness. Of course, lockdown can give you the feeling that you're very lonely and isolated, but you need to know that we're all on the same boat. So you're definitely not the only one going through this and feeling this way. It's also very important to stay connected and to keep socializing despite this situation. So for example, you should stay in touch with your friends, with your loved ones, with your family as often as you can. Of course, it's okay to want to spend some time alone and to have some alone time, but I feel staying connected is very important during these times. Something that I've done with my friends and that has worked really well is a potluck dinner on Zoom. You know, a potluck dinner is an event where every person that joins the event brings their own dish. So last week we had this potluck dinner and I made quiche, and I showed my friends the quiche I made. Of course, I was the only one having quiche, but it was great to see all the dishes that all my other friends had prepared, and it was a very original way of having dinner, and also a nice strategy to avoid having dinner just on your own. Another thing that we've done is meeting up for drinks, also on Zoom. So basically we agreed on a time, each of us got their own drink, and then sitting on the couch comfortably, we each had our own drink from home, but we could have a virtual toast. So that was actually a lot of fun. And finally, another activity we did to socialize despite each of us being in their own place was watching a movie together. So we agreed on a movie that we all wanted to watch. We agreed on a start time, and when the movie finished, we met on Zoom again to discuss our opinions on the movie. I really recommend you do one of these 3 activities because they're a lot of fun and they're really easy to set up. Okay, so we're moving up to tip number 4, which is do some physical exercise. Personally, I'm not a very sporty person, but I have to admit that since lockdown started, I found that doing sport has really helped me to feel better about myself, to release tension, and to get my mind off things. No matter if you're into yoga, Pilates, HIIT, weightlifting, or just dancing, you can definitely find a workout for you to do from home. For example, on the recommendation of my colleague Anna, I started doing yoga from home using a website called Yoga with Adriene. Adriene is a yoga instructor from Texas, and she has her own website and her own YouTube channel where she posts loads of simple yoga routines that you can easily do from home. I especially like one called Yoga for Teachers because it really helps me to relax and just to get my energy back at the end of a long, tiring day. I also try to exercise a bit by watching videos by Joe Wicks. I think you might know Joe Wicks as the body coach because he has his own YouTube channel where he posts loads of workouts that are appropriate for a wide range of ages and that are also child-friendly. Joe is actually from London, and since lockdown started, he's been doing live workouts on YouTube, which he calls PE with Joe. And I've done quite a few with my 7-year-old daughter, and I have to tell you, they're really a lot of fun and challenging too. I mean, I did break a sweat. The workouts last 30 minutes, and they're actually really original and easy to do from home as you don't need any special equipment. The last thing I do to exercise is dance to Just Dance videos. I'm sure you're already familiar with these videos as they're very, very popular. They're from the video game of the same name called Just Dance, but you can find loads of choreographies to the most popular songs on YouTube, and you can have loads of fun trying to follow the steps at the same time that you try to do a bit of exercise. So I really encourage you to try one of these out and see which one you like best, so that you can keep doing it through the next few days. Okay, so last but not least, here's tip number 5, which I personally find the most important. Tip number 5 is give yourself a break and cut yourself some slack. This is a really difficult situation we're going through, so it's only natural that we're finding it difficult to cope. We're still all getting adjusted to our new routine and finding ways to adapt to all of this. So you need to realize that it's okay to feel sad. It's okay to feel angry. It's okay to have your ups and downs and to lose your temper from time to time. We're all still adjusting. You're definitely not the only one. A fellow teacher, Elisenda, recommended an article from the magazine Psychology Today, written by Dr. Susan Bialy-Haas, and I really wanted to read you a quote from the article, which I found especially illustrative. Dr. Bialy says, "We need to give each other permission to grieve, to be afraid, to sit with our emotions, to slow down. We need our heroes, that's for sure. But sometimes we must simply allow ourselves to be humbled by a situation, to grieve what's happening, to not know what to do next, to be messy, to handle things imperfectly, to not have anything Instagrammable to share with the world right now." I think this quote perfectly sums up the message I wanted to give you in tip number 5. And I hope you found some of these ideas useful to relieve stress and to feel a bit better about this whole thing. You should definitely remember that you're doing a great job and that your efforts are really appreciated. So take care and see you really soon with some new tips. Bye.